Friends, I want to put before you a subject about which we have some sort of a distorted information. And the subject is, are Hindu moral codes unchangeable? You see, we talk today of our constitution as the most important, significant, and the only legal moral code. But there has been a history of moral codes in India, a history of texts that governed our lives and which were called smritis. If you look upon them, at very early time they were called sutras like Apastamba, Haritika, etc. And later on they were known as smritis. If you look upon them now, you will find that there has been a great change over centuries in them. And the moral codes have undergone all kinds of alteration. In recent time also, they have gone alteration. Then the question also arises that were these smritis written only for Hindus? My answer is no. And in support of my answer, I often ask a question. And I have asked this question from very learned people, from Indologists, the great Indologists of the West also, that can you please show me a Buddhist smriti? Just as what you call a Brahminical smriti, like the Apastamba or Manu or Yagyavalka or right down to Deval, which you are calling all the time Brahminical, which you are calling as an injunction and a method of controlling society by the Brahmins. Can you present before me a smriti, a set of moral codes meant for Buddhists, meant for Jains? I am not even saying Vaishnavas and Shaivas, because these communities or religious orders are considered to be part of the broad Hindu paraphernalia. The so-called Nastik Sampradayas, the Bauddhas and the Jain, and the Tantrics and the Shaktas, the non-Brahminical ones, did they have a smriti? Did they have a moral code? Did the Sikh have a moral code? Soon after Guru Nanak propagated his faith? The answer is no. If there was none, then what were these people following? Obviously, they were following the so-called Brahminical smritis. So this goes on to prove that what we have got into the habit of calling Brahminical is not just Brahminical, that it was all India. That it was a system which was supporting a legal system, a system of jurisprudence itself, which was used by people from all over the country. That it was a shastrachar, because these Shastras, Dharma Shastras of Manu, Yajnavalkya, etc., were taught, and they were the ones relied upon in making judgments regarding matters of marriage, property inheritance, various other laws of how different people in society were to be treated and what punishments were to be given. So it is clear that calling them Brahminical is wrong. The other major issue is that if there was a code and if it was followed by people of different communities, different sampradayas, was there then a total uniformity? I would say yes, there was, but at the same time, there was a great concession to what was called the local practice. And the old term for it is lokachar. There were several kinds of practices, hundreds of them, all over India, which were followed differently. For instance, in Tamil Nadu, making an alliance in the mother's family was permitted. Or what still survives in Himachal Pradesh was the practice of one woman marrying 4 brothers or 5 brothers of the same family. So these lokachars were all over the country, and they were considered as significant, and they were allowed to be the law of that local land. So this big combination of so-called Shastrachar and all India system and the variety of the local custom was the repository of the moral code. As a matter of fact, it is with the coming of the British that we have made uniform, single moral code for Hindus. Before that, it did not exist. What am I aiming at? Do I want that these lokachars should come back into the canon of law? I do not think that much of that can happen. But on the contrary, I am arguing for something else. The first thing that I am arguing for is that we should give up the myth that all these laws of Shastras were made by Brahmins only. That it is the people who practice them, and that these were not just Hindu laws, they were followed by people all over the land. And if this was the practice in ancient times, then perhaps we can have a common civil code today. A common civil code which would be followed by the people of this country, irrespective of their religious faith. If this was done earlier, if you could be a Buddha and still follow Manusmriti, if you could be a Jain, you could still follow Manusmriti, I see no reason why Christians, Muslims and Hindus cannot now create a common civil code and follow it. Thank you.